Hello everyone, my name is N.
And my name is Yeji, and this is Our Own Canon.
We created this show as a way for us to discuss and debate pieces of art, literature, philosophy, television, film.
Basically, anything and everything that has left an impression on us as Asian American college-age nerds with social anxiety and affinity for Vietnamese iced coffee.
Nerds, which we absolutely are, so get prepared to get lost in the weeds.
But don't worry, we'll offset with enough irony and sarcassery to keep things not boring for y'all.
And of course, thank you for listening and supporting the show. We hope you love what we have prepared today. All right, Yeji, I got a secret I gotta tell you.
Oh God.
See, it turns out this whole time, I secretly was always a raccoon. I just love me some trash. And I don't know if this is actually a secret because I think you might have suspected it all along, considering that I suggested this show because I thought it would be fun in the first place.
I had a suspicion, I was like trying to investigate silently, but now that it's out there in the open, I'm so relieved. So we can actually talk about this, like maybe get you some help, some professional help.
I don't think I need help because I've been enjoying my life as a raccoon. This show. Sometimes it hurts me a lot, but sometimes I actually do genuinely enjoy how much it hurts me. All right, so what are we going to be talking about this week?
Oh God!
What is this elusive show that we keep mentioning?
I can't believe you're gonna make me be the one to open this. Okay, so on a few weeks ago.
Wait, why are you pinning this on me? I mean, it is my fault, but why are you pinning it on me?
Because it is your fault, and I had to go through this for you. So,
Hey.
no. So a few weeks ago, On texted me and was like, "You know what we should do for our first Raccoon Rambles?" Which I will get into sort of like what Raccoon Rambles even means. But we should do our first Raccoon Rambles on Rent a Girlfriend. And this was a show that we had actually discussed a few times previous, but I had never thought he was actually serious. And so I behooved myself and I watched the anime and I got to like maybe episode 5 before I was like, I can't do this anymore. I would rather be dead. I would rather be dead than watch this show. I would rather die.
I do genuinely feel a little bad about it, but we'll make it up by having fun this episode.
And you finished it.
I finished the first season. Trust me, I'm not finishing the series.
First season.
Right,
I can't even deal with that.
We'll get to that in a bit, but let's first see if we can explain what a raccoon rambling is.
We're losing audience members like by the second. So Raccoon Rambles is something that we decided that would be something light and fun that we could sort of talk about, and it's basically us talking about trash and
and enjoying it like a good raccoon
and enjoying it, yes, and enjoying it, trying our absolute hardest to enjoy it. But yeah, so Rent a Girlfriend is not a good show. It's not a good concept. It's not a good idea. It's
not a good show. It's an amazing show, and you know it.
I don't know that. We're gonna go into the nitty-gritty of all of this, but how did you even first come across this show? Because I feel like we never actually talked about where you got the notion to do this yourself.
I'm not really sure where I found out about it. I think it's like one of those like popular enough shows because it generally is pretty popular. You look on like my anime list, it is doing better than a lot of other things that I think might deserve to do better, but whatever. So it's kind of been something that's in like the consciousness of the anime community for a while, and I think I just kind of like via osmosis just kind of absorbed that it is a thing.
So you
But I
weren't
had I
like,
hadn't, huh?
so you didn't like get this recommended to you by anyone.
No, no.
Okay.
It was always just something that I knew kind of existed, and I actually heard of like generally like positive things about it. Just
Oh,
kind of
really?
yeah, up
You
and
should
around.
defriend those people. Defriend them now.
For my own health or something.
Yes,
No,
for
like
your own mental health.
I don't even think it's like from friends and stuff. It's just from like the internet and like the general online community. Just kind of so there was like some like it was this was a while ago, but there was like generally positive reviews. And you know me, I'm not on the internet that much, so I just kind of like went along with it. And I was like, cool, okay. And then I was like, okay, I'll give it a shot. I read the manga and I got like 3 chapters in, and I was like, I'm done with this. This is so frustratingly bad.
So why did you
Skip
make me watch it?
to 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 have us be on the same page so we can both
Uh-huh.
experience this pain together.
The pause before you.
It is
Before
getting harder
you.
and harder to justify the more you start interrogating me. So I'm just gonna keep moving,
Oh
so
god.
I don't have to answer these
All
questions.
right, thank you.
Um, so yeah, I read a couple chapters. I was like, this is like insufferably bad, and we'll explain more why on that later. And then sometime around the podcast came, and we were like, it would maybe be fun to like just like go to town and have some fun tearing apart some things that like I think are kind of problematic. So, and when we came up
Kinda
with the idea of raccoon
problematic.
ramblings, yeah, and when we came up with the idea of raccoon ramblings, I was like, what's the most like quintessential thing I can put as like a first episode for raccoon rambling? And this was it. So
I feel like generally too, this is not going to be a very controversial one. Like there might be things that we raccoon ramble about that people are like, no, like I love that show, and they might not agree with us, but this is just bad. Like I don't, and I just looked up the ratings on this online. This is like a 7.2 stars out of 10 on like my anime list and IMDb. It has a 4.6 on Google ratings.
I don't know. I think for that reason, this might be like half controversial because like 7.5 is not.
I
It's not like
but like
overwhelming. It's not what I would give it.
and that's not what I would give it either, but like apparently it's averaging out to be like pretty high. But also I feel like there are a lot of people who do watch this show ironically. I would hope so. I would hope so. I hope people are giving it 5 stars for the memes.
I don't think we're the only ones that dislike it, though. I do not think it's like, but I do think there are genuinely people who do like it. Like um, that's why I say it's like probably like half controversial. Like there are probably people who agree a lot with us, and then probably people who are gonna disagree a lot. Uh,
I am trying so hard not to think about the people who would like this show or find it compelling in any way because it just makes me slowly lose hope for humanity. Like just little by little. Like the more that I think about it, I'm like, oh god, oh god.
so so before we begin like the main part of the episode, I'm gonna pull some teeth here. Let's be fair. Is there anything you like about this? Anything
I think the voice actors did a good job.
for the dub or the sub, or did you?
For this sub, I don't.
Okay.
So this might also be controversial, but I don't like hate dubs. I just like, and again, like some people are like, "Oh my god, like you don't hate dubs, you're not a real anime fan." But I don't hate them. I just like don't prefer to watch them that way because I think that like Japanese voice actors like tear themselves to pieces, like literally to voice characters and stuff, and like I think the Japanese voice actors just have that shit like on lock, you know what I mean? So
That's
even if I don't
fair.
enjoy it, I can still like appreciate the talent and like the
The
effort
voice
that went
acting in
into
Attack
it.
on Titan is godly.
Oh my god, it is art. Yeah. But yeah, Rent a Girlfriend, like the talent in it, I don't think it's bad. Like I think the voice actors did a very, very good job
I actually
doing
genuinely think
their
on like
job.
a purely technical standpoint,
Yeah.
animation, art, sound design, voice acting, pacing even, I don't even think it's like that bad. I think as like
Mm.
a technical piece of work, it is actually
Hmm.
pretty good. Uh
Okay.
but I think the real big problems that I have with this show are going to start coming when you like start talking about like the messages and the themes and like the world that it built,
Oh
right?
yeah.
But
Oh
if I'm
yeah.
gonna be completely honest, like the art in the manga, the animation, all like the technical aspects, I genuinely don't have a problem with them, and I can understand why someone would like
Mm.
enjoy it as long as you don't think
Mhm.
about it too hard.
Yeah. Well, I think that's what you did, right? I mean, you had to watch the whole season of it, so I'm hoping you didn't think like
I,
too
I I
hard
think
about
I think
it.
it's like coming back around. It's like it's best enjoyed if you don't think about it, but if you start thinking about it, it gets
Yeah.
worse. But if you think about it enough, it like circles all the way back around to being enjoyable. Or maybe
Right.
or maybe I'm a raccoon and I have a problem and I
And you have a problem. Yeah. So remember when I said like professional help?
this is
No, we
this is
were.
actually the end goal of the podcast to make this thing get money so I can get professional help.
I
Is that what you're
was,
trying to do
yeah.
here?
I was literally about to say that. No, yeah. Also, I just looked it up again, and if you look up Rent a Girlfriend with like dashes in the middle, like of the
Okay.
words, which is not what I did the first time I looked up the ratings, but if you just look up like Rent a Girlfriend with the dashes,
Okay.
with rating at the end, it's gonna pull up like this sort of Google sheet, but then it pulls up the Google sheet on the tab for reviews. But if you swipe over and you go to overview instead, 94% of people like this TV show out of Google users. And lo and behold, 69% of Annie List people like this show.
That's on purpose, man.
Oh
You cannot
my god.
you
Oh
cannot
my
convince me otherwise. You cannot
god.
convince me otherwise.
Oh, that's so messed up.
It is very fitting, frankly, considering like the only thing
God
that this
is
show is
playing a
about.
prank on me. Oh, I can't do this. Dude, that's actually crazy. That's gotta be like fake. That's gotta be like a meme or something.
this is this is
Somebody
definitive proof.
rigged that.
This is definitive proof about why Annie List is better than my anime list. Annie List, they know what's up. They got it. They got it.
Oh
They
god.
got it.
Good lord. Okay, so is this a shoujo or is this a shonen, right? This got to be a shonen.
I have no idea.
This
Uh,
has to be a shonen. There's no way.
it feels more plausible to have been published in a shonen magazine than I think a shoujo one. Um, because in my opinion, shoujo generally has a much better understanding of characters and women in general than than this show can ever aspire to have.
This is also true. Yeah, so it was in shonen. By the way, like for these raccoon rambles, we're not going to research anything. We're just going to like go through everything sort of play by play so that you can get our genuine reactions and so that we can get our genuine reactions. And yeah, so yeah, this is actually a shonen. It was originally posted in Kondasha's weekly shonen magazine since July 2017. Has been compiled into 28 volumes as of September 2022.
28 volumes?
Yeah.
28 volumes? And it's still running, right? You know
Yes. It's
Kaguya-sama
still
just
going.
ended on volume 28, right? This
Oh
this has a
man.
longer runtime than
Oh
Kaguya-sama
man.
does. I want you to know
And
that.
Kaguya-sama is so much better, dude.
It
Oh my
is.
god.
I'll get to that at the gems, but yes, Kaguya-sama
Yes.
is a lot better.
Kaguya-sama is a top pick for us for sure. Um is Kaguya-sama a shoujo? Or is it a shonen?
I think
I love that the genre of Kaguya-sama, Love is War, is first and foremost psychological.
it
And then
is
it
because it
is
is.
romantic comedy and then slice of life. That makes me so happy.
Kaguya-sama is Death Note, but if Death Note was also a romantic comedy, and like I don't think you can convince me wrong here.
That's actually
Also,
a very good. That's a very good way to describe it because low-key it gets kind of scary at some points. Okay, so it's a seinen. Okay, so it's like for both. Got it.
for older audiences, published
Yeah.
in Young Jump Comics. Okay. If you guys want a better recommendation than Rent a Girlfriend, go read
Yes.
and or watch
Yes.
Kaguya-sama Love is War.
Yes,
Uh,
because it's a much better romantic comedy than this is. And also Rent a Girlfriend being a romantic comedy is very ironic because I don't think I laughed once while watching that. Other
I
than
did
to,
laugh, just not for the reasons it wanted me to laugh. I
I
don't
know.
think.
No, literally. No, I was mostly like whenever I did it, it was like the laugh of like disbelief. It was like, oh my god, like that. Like it wasn't like a genuine.
It was your nervous laugh.
Oh,
Like, oh
yes, it was my
no,
nervous,
what am I
awkward.
doing here? Can I get
Yeah,
out? Is it the end of the
yes,
episode yet?
yes, kind of thing. Okay, so I only watched until like the fifth episode. Granted, that was just like as much as I could just physically stomach, but
Not
the
even 50%.
brief,
Damn.
yeah, not even 50%, not even halfway through. I'm pretty sure it wasn't even like a third of the way through, honestly.
No,
I
you were
couldn't take
like,
it anymore.
it's a 12 episode season, so you were right under half.
Okay,
Congratulations. Feel good about
okay.
yourself.
Well, I almost made it, and then I was like, nah, I'm gonna conk out at five. So, um, this is about a young man who is in college.
A young college age student
Um,
with an affinity for Vietnam.
Shh! Do not compare him to us. We are nothing like him. I I will kill you. Do not do that. That's horrifying. That was horrifying. The way my stomach just dropped. You
Too
don't reference
close
our
for
own
comfort.
canon. Too close for
Okay.
comfort. Too soon. Too soon.
I think it will always be too soon, but keep going. Yes.
It will always be too soon to compare us to anime characters like Kazuya. Kazuya is our gormless protagonist. And basically the series starts with him getting dumped by his girlfriend. Mommy. Mommy is her name. Which just
Yeah. That's
which
like I won't give that as a point against Rent a Girlfriend because that's probably just a cultural thing. But
but
it
like
does have its unfortunate moments. Um and when we can get to that, it
uh,
does have its unfortunate moments. Yeah, you're right.
it's just like when you watch this, you know, on your TV out loud and the first scene is a young man and it is like one of the first scenes in the show is him like masturbating to a picture of mommy and he is like calling out her name and I had to straight up turn off my TV. I
Hey,
didn't pause it. I did
just
not
be
pause it.
glad you didn't watch the dub version of that, okay? It
It
only
still
feels more
sounds
uncomfortable
like
when you
mommy.
understand every single word in that interaction.
Oh god. No, it was really bad and I had to like physically turn off my TV and like give myself a second. I also do vividly remember when I was watching the first episode and that came up and I turned off my TV, I immediately texted on and was like, "What what is this? Why are you doing this to me? What's going on?" And he was just like, "Oh, just wait. It gets so much worse."
And it does.
And it
Alright.
does.
All right. So what do we know about our main character at this point? One, he got dumped, and two,
Yeah.
he is very much not over it.
Yes. And he's a misogynist, I feel like is also important to just throw out there.
And
He's a
then
misogynist.
and then we could try to explain more about his character after that, but I think it ends there. No,
Yeah,
wait,
that's about
wait.
it.
It doesn't. It doesn't. He's also a liar, a pathological
uh,
liar. All right, so we're
oh,
doing good.
you right.
You know you're doing good characterization when you can list your characters like your main character's traits on less than a hand. I wasn't counting, but I think we're like maybe 3 or 4 right now. I don't even think we got a full
Yeah,
hand.
yeah. I appreciate how the writers did what I did, and they were like, we could do like half, we could do like a full 12, but we're just gonna like stop at 5. Uh,
Wait, he likes fish too, and then it ends there,
oh,
and then that's
yeah,
it.
of course. It's so important to his character too. It's a recurring theme about the cultural cuisine, you know, in and I can't even do this. I can't do it. I can't.
The show has outsmarted you. Is that what happened? You got
Just,
beat.
just like on a meta level, like it's just like a cultural commentary on like
See,
Japan.
the fish represents his sexual repression being
Ah,
locked in
yes.
the fish tank. You
Yes,
see.
yes, because we as humans we domesticated the fish, and in turn we became the fish.
Amen. Amen.
Ah.
We figured it out, guys. We figured it out. This show is officially great only on a meta contextual level.
It only makes sense if you can factor in the fish and its importance in I'm done with this. I'm not gonna do this anymore, because even trying to pretend like this show has any cultural forbearance is painful to me, and I think is a direct insult to Japan. So I
That
apologize,
is
Japan, and I will not keep doing that. All right.
that is some of the like I don't like this show, but that is some intense criticism. I kind of now want to make a piece of art so bad that it becomes a cultural affront to Americans.
Oh my god. I mean, I feel like some like Riverdale sort of walks the line on that. Like it's so
I,
bad that it's just a commentary on like how bad American media is sometimes, and honestly, I cherish it. I cherish having grown up in the same multiverse as Rent a Girlfriend and Riverdale, because
this is the best timeline.
yes, it truly is, because we get to watch the world's worst trash unfold before our eyes. And it's I like pain. I like pain. So I like this. I can't. I literally can't, dude. What is going on? Why are we doing this?
Okay. So
Oh god. Okay, let's move on.
so our guy Kazuya, he's been dumped by his ex. You know, we're not even like 2 minutes
Yeah, we're
into the show right now. We'll get through it. We'll get through it. We'll get through it. So he gets dumped by his ex. He's not getting over it. He's not taking it very well. So he decides to go onto this website that lets you rent a girlfriend. Hence the name.
roll credits.
uh, and actually, like, I think something interesting to say about like the whole like rental girlfriend like idea, like genuinely as like a concept, I think that could be like a really interesting like story thing that you can do something with. right? Like rental girlfriends are essentially like they're low key just like PG-13 like sex workers. Uh, and I
On.
feel like a good writer can do some very interesting things with this.
I I think so. But this was like not it.
This is not it. And you know how I
And
know it's not it? Right? Because right after, okay, so he rents his girlfriend, right? And then like, uh, something I really find like really annoying about the show is that like every time like we meet a new like female character, Kazuya just like spends so much time, so much like breath, just like describing to the audience like how attractive this lady is, and like I'm pulling my punches here. He does it in a very creepy way.
I
um,
mean, yeah, and like, and that was something that I think was a part of the show that initially very much shocked me because again, like Rent a Girlfriend is new. Like it's not an old anime,
yeah, you're
right?
right.
Like it's not old in like it's not like Death Note old, right? Where like some of the humor is just like outdated. It's not Oron High School Host Club old, where it's like again, like the humor is just a little bit outdated. Like they joke around about topics that are now probably considered a little bit too sensitive to be,
That's
joked
true.
about in that particular way. No, Rent a Girlfriend is just it's just ignorant. It's just ignorant of what it's doing and that's the thing too though is like do you think the writers are being ignorant or do you think they're literally being like do you think they wrote this ironically or unironically?
Man, like
Cuz
can't
we'll
say on
never
that one.
know.
So like like in philosophy we have the concept of being like trying to be generous to other people's arguments, and I'm trying to figure out what's more generous here. Either they know that this is like super creepy and misogynistic, and like like outdated as hell, right? And they're doing it anyways because they can pander to a certain audience who doesn't understand that, or they just don't know. And I am hard pressed to say which is the more generous uh reading of this
It's
text.
very difficult to say. I will yeah, that's a hard question. I will say like I do think that writing this obliviously is almost worse though because it shows the author's hand, right? If again, if because we don't know. We don't know what the author's intentions really are with this. And again, we didn't do research on it and I don't really want to do research on it. So, if we're just speculating here, right? Like if this was unironic, right? Like if it was meant to be very serious and like he wrote this story because he thought it was compelling or emotionally like moving in any way shape or form, like the fact that someone out there exists and got their work published like this and has such a huge following is like genuinely concerning to me. Because he doesn't even know, like he doesn't even know that it's bad because if it was like again like if it was on like a meta level and he was trying to like make a commentary by literally just making it as raucous as possible, right, with no good elements and no like messaging behind it, right, while still
Mm-hmm.
maintaining like this facetiousness, like this air of facetiousness to it, like then it wouldn't necessarily be showing the author's hand. It would literally be achieving exactly what he's trying to do, which, again, on a meta level, very cool. I just think the show is like too ignorant to be that,
Yeah.
though.
I
You
also
know?
suspect it might be hard to do that on like a non-ironic level. Like that actually like to make something that purposely falls into this type of thing is genuinely very difficult. Like you know how like people always say like it's hard to make a bad movie on purpose, right?
Yeah,
Because
yeah,
part
yeah, yeah,
of
yeah.
the genuine fun of watching something that's like bad, like The Room or something like that, is partially the fun of understanding that like the author doesn't quite get why this is like bad. Uh,
Did you ever watch Morbius?
no, I haven't, and
That was the pain that I got while watching Morbius was knowing that if the author had done something like at least a little bit to subvert, but it was all serious. And I was like, Oh God.
But
Okay.
you can at least cut Morbius some slack by saying like that was like corporate schlock. Like there is
Yeah,
a
that's
chance
true.
that Morbius
That's
was there is
true.
some cut of Morbius that makes sense and that's good that just never got to happen because it needed to check certain corporate boxes, right? Uh,
That's very high hopes.
I mean, it can be imagined. The problem with manga is that like usually just like one guy writes a manga. There
Yeah,
there
that's
is there
true.
is no
That's
like
true.
there is no like it's usually a guy and like an editor, right? So
Yeah,
like
there's like no middleman really.
you can't
Yeah.
blame like Sony for poor corporate decisions. You can you can only point the finger at a very small amount of people. And I guess the animation studio who decided to do this.
Yeah. I guess like I don't know, for Rent a Girlfriend like and sorry, we'll get more into the characters and the actual story thing. I just like roasting this is like way too much fun. But I think I
Join the dark
I
side.
know, literally. Oh
Join the
God.
raccoons.
Um, I'm too young. I have more time. No, but I think that's something that is ironic. Not ironic. Funny, kind of sad. All of those things together about Rent a Girlfriend is that like, and we'll talk about this more because this is something that we actually talked about the first time that I sort of, ran through it a little bit and like I got to the second episode and I was like, they are so close. They're so close to making a point here, and every time they get close to making that point, it falls flat on its fucking face, and I have no idea how they did it, but it's honestly impressive.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. Like there are a lot of points where we were debating about whether this was intentional or not.
Yeah.
I think I might be veering on the side of intentional because there's a lot of times where the author seems to make it very clear that Kazuya does know what the right thing is. He either knows he's being creepy or he knows that there is like a certain action that needs to be taken in this specific situation. And we have his internal dialogue. We know that he's thinking,
Yeah.
I am totally wrong here. And then he does it anyways. Which indicates to me that the author genuinely does know and can actually cite reasons as to why some of these things are bad, but makes a character that doesn't anyways, and then never punishes that character for these things.
Yeah.
Right? Like it's one thing if you have a character who knows something's bad, does the wrong thing, right, and then gets punished for it. That way we can kind of all understand that like, okay, he's a flawed character and
Yeah.
maybe he can learn. Right? But this is a character who knows something is bad, does it anyways, and then sometimes gets rewarded for it. And then it's like,
Yeah.
is it even a bad thing at that point if you like
Yeah.
get the girl at the end? Right? Like
Yeah, no, really. No, it's crazy. But yeah, let's talk a little bit more about this fucking plot. Because
Okay, so man's rents a girlfriend. Okay. I would hope he does. It's the whole title. I would be very
Yes.
disappointed if he doesn't.
Yes.
And he goes on like the best date he could probably ever go on, right? And then they go to an aquarium. Aquariums are cool, by the way. I do really like aquariums. So he takes her to the aquarium, and then he like starts like running off. Like he starts talking about fish because he has encyclopedic knowledge on fish for some reason.
Again, this is as deep as
as you
his
do.
character goes. That is like
Yes.
the most deep thing about
Yeah.
Kazuya.
We know he's in college, and we don't even know what his major is. So I'm assuming he's like studying like fishology. What a man.
Marine biology.
No, just fish.
Fishology.
He has indicated no affinity
Fish.
for any other subject other than just fish. I don't think he knows anything about dolphins or whales. I don't think he has the brain cells to add any other marine biology to his
Just
repertoire.
fish.
Okay?
It's just fish.
Just fish. Just fish. That's my headcanon now. He just knows fish. They made a whole major
my
just for him
God.
because he could not demonstrate any proficiency in any other marine
I
biology.
would not put it past him though, honestly. That's very accurate and that's a very like believable headcanon. So now it's my headcanon as well. But yeah, no, he rents he rents Chizuru and they go to an aquarium, which Chizuru is her name, by the way. The rent-a-girlfriend's name. And, they have a nice date, and apparently she, like, did research on him beforehand, and, like, she figured out that he did like fish, so, like, she did her own research too.
No, no, no,
And
no, 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 no.
oh,
No, the
was that
first
their
date,
second date?
she had no. Yeah,
That was
that's
their
the second. So
second
the
date.
first date,
Never mind. Sorry.
yeah. So the first date, she has no idea about any fish, and like, whatever, right?
Yeah. Sorry. That's
and
my
and
bad.
then, yeah, and then at the end of the date, they're like walking home, and she like holds his hand, and like he starts because it's her job. She's a rental girlfriend. She's gonna do girlfriend things, and he like gets all happy about it and whatnot. Right, and then later that day, he goes home and he looks on her like on the app and looks at the reviews, right, and then he realizes that a
He's
lot of
not
other people,
special.
she, yeah, it's like it's her job or something
Yeah.
to make people feel like she's a good girlfriend, right? So he sees all these other reviews and then he like gets mad and then types in his review 1 star, whatever, doesn't know about fish facts, 1 star, lame, post review, right? And this is the point. This is the point where you realize. Remember earlier I was like, this is, like the concept could be really interesting because it's like PG-13, like sex workers, right? Like, we could talk about like some really interesting things about like how people don't understand the boundaries between like the job and the profession and like what it's asking and like how people feel and like the problematic ways that actually leads to genuine violence.
Right. Yes.
Right. And then at this moment, the show just took it out the window.
Yeah. The show's like, no.
And any hope for the premise was immediately lost here when your main character does the thing that actually is genuinely very like if you actually like know about people in the community and like talk to them, this would be a genuine problem that they face and why like the work is so dangerous.
Yep.
And this show immediately just like, I'm not even gonna think about that. I'm just gonna make my character participate in this type of behavior and not show why these consequences of this type of behavior is genuinely like very dangerous and problematic.
It's really bad. And like, I know we've been laughing about how it's kind of clever on a meta level, but like in being so ignorant, it sort of like takes a shit on the reality of doing work like this, especially like in a place like Japan, in a city like Tokyo. Like, that shit is dangerous as fuck. And it's dangerous to be in any city doing that stuff, but like specifically Tokyo is like a huge center for like human trafficking, especially like young women and stuff. And like, again, like it's so close to trying, it's so close to something good. And here's the other thing too, though, is that like if Chizuru, right, was a woman who was 100% on the professional side, right? Like, she did not let her boundaries get crossed over, and she was very adamant, and she was a 100% professional. I feel like this show would also be very different and also carry a different message. But Chizuru has boundary issues, bro. Like, she's never 100% professional, and she walks around pretending like she is when she lets Kazuya do basically like whatever he wants, and she eventually always gives in to him. And it's like, wait a minute.
She does, yeah.
Wait a minute.
It's very obvious that he has never talked to a sex worker in his life. The author has never like genuinely like researched or talked to or like have informed discussions about like this type of line of work. I mean, like, it's different, it's rental girlfriend, but like, I mean, I find it very difficult to not draw the connections
but,
here.
It's basically like an escort.
They just aren't drawn.
Yeah. Like, there are plenty of like businesses that do this, right? I guess the difference is that like specifically in this premise, right? For this rent-a-girlfriend world, right? They're not allowed to have sex because it would like violate the premise of their contract. I think that's like one of her rules, right? Like, when renting a girlfriend, like, you can't have sex with them.
We're gonna get deep into the rental girlfriend lore.
Oh God, okay. So
we're gonna really dive in.
Oh no. So so she just has, again, she doesn't do her job very well, right? And it's ironic because she does do her job very well. She just doesn't do the part of her job that she needs to do well in order to basically kind of teach Kazuya a lesson, right? Because every single time she gives in to him, he comes out of it thinking that he's like a good guy, that he's won, right? And as the audience too, like, how could you also not buy into that? Because that's the whole thing, right? Is that he spends the entire episode fucking up one thing after another, making mistakes, saying misogynistic shit, right? Like treating Chizuru like shit, right? At the end of everything, she still forgives him and she still like allows him to rent her, even though she could cut the contract off and not have to deal with him anymore.
You
And
don't even know the worst of it, Yeji.
yeah, I didn't even
You
finish
didn't get past
it.
episode
I
5.
didn't even finish it, so I don't know if I have room to talk here, but like that was definitely something that I was irritated by and something that I think actually could have elevated this show to something better. Like if only that thing changed, right? If Kazuya was still an ass, like whatever, right? But if Chizuru was a 100% like professional woman, right, that did not let anyone step over her boundaries or violate her contract, I think that this could have been at least a little bit more interesting.
I mean, part of it I think is on Chizuru, but I'm also not going to let Kazuya off the hook
Oh,
for
absolutely not.
being the one to consistently. It's kind of the whole like through line of the show.
Yeah.
Consistently violate these boundaries. When like he really should have a understanding of the professional aspect of this. Like I get you're gonna get a little emotional because of like the work of the nature of the work, but
Yeah.
first of all, in world it is indicated by other people's like reviews and stuff that like they know the boundaries,
Uh-huh.
right?
Yeah.
So like it's not impossible. Like it's not like the author knows that like people aren't capable of it, right? But just like designing this character very specifically to constantly keep like pushing these boundaries for reasons that are very dumb that we can get into after
Yeah.
we finish this episode rundown.
I'm so sorry. We're like 40 minutes in and we haven't even like
We're not going to
covered
break down all the
plots.
episodes. We're not going to break down all the episodes. We're just going to hit highlights, but I do think getting through the first one kind of like sets the tone for what to expect out of here. So
Please don't watch this show.
So he goes. Did you say please go watch the show?
I said please
go do it?
watch
Do
this
it?
show.
Do
Please
it?
don't listen to what we're saying and then go watch it. If you are going to go watch it, like pay for your therapy session in advance and make sure that it's at least an hour long because you'll need it.
You're gonna need 1 hour for each episode.
Yeah. Oh god.
For every 30-minute episode, you're gonna need an hour's.
It's like
worth.
it's like a 2-1 minute ratio to like the show and therapy.
Okay, so he posts his bad review because he's all upset that like she treats other men nicely, and then he books another date with her. Those reasons. And she accepts another date with him, knowing that that she got the 1-star review about the fish facts. So this is where you were talking about where she starts researching the fish facts because she's like a go-getting girl. She's not gonna let this stop her from doing her job, I guess, right? And she really wants to what's the word? Remedy that 1-star review. So she learns her fish. He takes her to an aquarium again. Okay. Just say second date, like maybe don't retread the first date. Like
Yeah, maybe don't do the exact same fucking thing you did last time if it didn't work out for you, but who am I to say anything? Yeah.
And it's like I think the way that the show implies is that he got to pick the dates, right? Like she's following his itinerary.
Oh, yeah.
So
that's true.
So he literally went like, I want our first date to be at an aquarium. I want our second date to be at an aquarium.
If you'd had any if you were, wondering whether or not he's shallow, even after all of the work that we've done to show you that he's shallow, he's fucking shallow and he has like half a functioning brain cell. Like he cannot think for himself. Yeah, it's bad. Anyways, they go to the aquarium again.
Of the fish.
Yeah.
I'm quite sure some of the fish in the aquarium are smarter than he is.
But probably, yeah. I'm sorry, I keep interrupting you. So they go to the aquarium again, and
Yeah.
and he snaps in the middle of the aquarium.
I don't even remember. Like, it's so incoherent, the reasons why he's getting upset about this. I think it's like a mixture of like all the other reviews and like his recent breakup that for some reason, like, I genuinely could not follow why he snapped here.
Yeah. Okay, so I think it was like because he left the review and when he read it again, like he expected to be like told off for it, but she was just going through the motions and acting like everything was okay again. And when he snapped, he was like, do you even like have a heart? Like, do you even care? Like, you don't even care that I gave you a bad review and like damaged your like reputation. Like, just like say something, like be an actual human being kind of thing. Um,
That is.
which again, there could have been a point made there. It could have been some, could have been like a little bit of some, but it's not. It never
And
is.
it's not. So
Oh
after that,
god.
she finally snaps and like takes him out and like pulls him out of the aquarium, and it's like, bro, what the hell? Like, do you not understand what is going on here with this job? And I'm just trying to like do the thing you paid me for. um, and like that's actually genuinely a very good point. Good job, chooser. You make a good point.
Yes.
Too bad. Too bad it is interrupted by him getting a phone call. Gasp.
Gasp.
Uh, his grandma has fallen and is now in the hospital.
Oh
Oh
no.
no! So now he has to rush to the hospital. And I correct me if I'm wrong, but I guess because like she's technically his girlfriend at this point, she decides to go along with him.
Okay, so yeah, I think it was that like because she was already on the date with him and she felt bad, she was like, "Come on, like we can go together," or something like that. Because like when he got the phone call, he was like super distressed, and she could sort of tell that he was upset. So she was like, "Well, you paid for like this much amount of time, like I'll just go with you." Um, Also, fuck this grandma. Fuck this granny. God damn. Like, she is so awful and so
She is
strange and just bad. Bad. It's just bad.
she is she is a sex pest.
No, she's literally like
like
a pedophile. Like it's fucking crazy that they
actually
just do this and then gloss over it like it's nothing, slash portray it like it's a sweet and good thing.
it is very
It's
creepy.
fucking
It is
insane.
somehow creepier than Kazuya is at times.
It's
And he's creepy.
It's insane though. It's fucking crazy. Like I'm deviating from the plot here. This happened like they go to like a spa at some point or like some kind of like hot spring and like the grandma literally sexually harasses Chizuru like in the bath area, like straight up just fondling her breasts, like making comments about how she wants to like lather her up in soap and like help her bathe. And I'm like, dude, that's a child. That's like a 20-year-old. Compared to you, she's a child. Like, fucking no. Like, fucking stop. And also, the grandma doesn't know that Chizuru is a rent-a-girlfriend. So, like, she's just treating her grandson's girlfriend like this. And honestly, it's really
I
scary.
didn't
It's really
yeah,
scary.
it is. It is very awful. Uh,
And again,
so
there was room here for them to make a point about like old people being creepy towards younger people, and they didn't. They make it seem like the grandma is like a really sweet person. Bad. Jail time. Jail. It's bad.
disturbingly, the fact that she's made it this far without being locked up is actually, honestly,
Without being locked out.
maybe Kazuya deserves a little bit of leeway because if he was raised by parents who were raised by this lady, um,
Yeah.
I guess I can kind of see why he's an awful person.
That's fair. That's a fair
Okay,
assessment.
so they go to the hospital, and Cheezer's there because she's being way too nice, um, more nice than he really deserves at this point. You know, considering all the like him blowing up and all that shit. Um, and they go to the hospital to visit grandma, and grandma's like, "Who's this?" And because Kazuya is a pathological liar,
Oh gosh.
immediately on reflex, he just says, "This is my girlfriend." And this is the inciting incident of the whole thing, and it never gets better after this. So
it
so
just
actually
never ends.
going back to how awful the grandma was. The grandma like finds out that like Kazuya is like or finds Kazuya tells the grandma that that's his girlfriend, and then like she's immediately like, "Have you guys had sex yet?"
Oh god, I fucking forgot about that. Yeah, it's really
Yeah.
bad. No, like, oh,
Because
dude,
she's so convinced that he's a loser and that we'll never have any offspring that
dude.
like the moment he brings a girl to not even home to the hospital, she's like, "Are you guys fucking?" And like, I was
Oh.
talking to someone about the show, and they were like, like maybe this show is like a commentary on how society expects people to like settle down and have children. Uh, and like I guess, but like Granny's never like played off as so much of a villain that you can actually if you're doing a literal like reading of the text or not a literal if you're reading a reading of the text on like its terms, Granny's never like portrayed as villainous enough to really associate any of her ideas with being bad, right? Like Kazuya never you could argue that maybe it's a commentary on how like society expects people to get married and like have kids. But if that's the case, no one ever pushes back on Granny about that. Kazuya just straight up accepts it. And in fact, he keeps playing into it. Right.
It's
In fact, his whole
yeah,
motivation up at this point becomes I need to have a girlfriend so my grandma will be happy.
yeah,
Right?
yeah. That's just bad. It's just bad. It's bad. Oh, dude, the amount of pain that I had while watching this. Not like, because that's the thing too, though, is that like I think they're trying to make some kind of weird pseudo commentary about like filial piety here and being loyal to your parents and your grandparents and like giving them exactly what they want and what they expect of you, but it doesn't work because one
it
of the
doesn't
way
criticize it enough.
yeah, and like one of the way that it like characterizes all of the people because it's like the grandma isn't someone that you should ever endorse, right? And her emotional state is a direct consequence of her own actions. And they try to make it seem like it's Kazuya's responsibility by having a girlfriend to like make his grandma happy, but it's like it's never actually explained why she gives so much of a fuck. Like yes, they're close, but there's no other real relationship there. Like the grandma just cares for no reason. Like there's no established like it's not because Kazuya's parents are dead or because like maybe she lost her husband too young and so she's like living vicariously through her grandson. Like there's no compelling backstory here for there to be a basis for any of the reasons why she gives a damn. Like and so we're already going off of this like pseudo my grandma cares so much and that's why you have to be my rent-a-girlfriend and that's why you keep having to be with me because for my grandma. And not only does Chizuru buy into that, but like she thinks it's really sweet and it's pushed and sort of again portrayed as this very sweet thing. And the whole time I was sitting there I was like I don't even understand why we even give a fuck about the grandma. Like we were halfway through like the first episode and like the second episode is just based on I think it's the second episode is like based mainly on him actually getting Chizuru to like be his rent-a-girlfriend for his grandma specifically because at some point they make the agreement that like Chizuru will only be his rent-a-girlfriend to go visit the grandma, which
Yeah.
is a boundary that is not set at all. Like is ignored by both of them constantly, right? But the grandma subplot and the reason that apparently this is the inciting incident for basically everything that happens in the show is fucking bonkers to me because it's just not good writing. And I don't know, like it's not even schlocky or B movie enough to like make sense on a like a on like a on like a we're poking fun at like other animes that do the same thing kind of thing. Like it was very serious.
Yeah,
Like it was
yeah.
really
There's
serious, you know? It's just like
they take this. They take him trying to please his grandma by having a girlfriend as like 100% good reason to continue lying to everyone in their lives.
yeah, no, it's insane. Yeah, it's insane. I was
So
also
yeah.
wondering like cuz you're a guy and I'm a girl.
Hmm.
Um
That is facts. Okay.
yeah. You're like, "Thank you. I appreciate that."
I didn't
Uh,
know. I'm glad you've established. I'm glad you established this.
I'm glad we established it too.
Appreciate.
I hope this is valuable information for our viewers as well moving forward. I felt like it was time to be transparent and upfront about that. So,
Okay, what do you
but
say?
like from a guy's perspective, what is the worst part about this show for you? Like the male characters in this show.
I think how much they're always thinking about sex is like exhausting.
Yeah, that's fair.
Genuinely,
Yeah.
like I kind of get like there's a certain commentator who said like people think a lot about sex. Yes, that is I guess true, but to the level of where every single one of their interactions is informed by like him trying to by him either like thinking about sex or like trying to get a girlfriend to please his because his grandma wants him to have sex. That is such a weird sentence.
Which is an insane reason to want to have sex is because my grandma wants me to have sex. Like what the fuck? Oh my god. Like what who thought this was a good idea? Who let this happen?
And it's the fact that like it keeps getting reinforced by every single person in the show, his grandma, his friends, right,
Yeah,
himself.
low key.
um
Yeah.
it actually genuinely is straight up just exhausting and like
Yeah.
really is kind of the reason why I want to talk about this, because that is probably the most draining part of the like getting through the whole thing, right? It's
Yeah.
like you could have a personality outside of having sex, you know that, right, Kazuya?
Yeah, yeah.
Or any of his friends, you guys know that, right? Like there are other things you can do.
You're like, this is an option. Please take it. Like, yeah,
Please.
yeah, no,
What
I
about
totally get what
you from your perspective? So like the same question, but like from your perspective, what the
yeah.
thing that like
Um, there's a lot of things wrong about this show, and I think saying just the portrayal of women in general in this show is just too broad because it is every fucking scene. It is the basis of this show. It is the premise of the entire plot. It is the
the
build
show
up.
lives or dies on its waifu merchandise, and
It
you know it.
is it's insane. It's the build up, it's the climax, it's all of the characters like I mean, you cannot go 2 minutes in this show without somebody making one, a misogynistic comment, two, a young woman, right? Again, these are people who are coded to be in college but are animated like every other high school anime that you watch, right? Like there's a there's a part where they go to the beach and of course everyone's tits are out. Like it's I mean,
There's actually genuinely a chance that Haruhi from Oran High School Host Clubs looks more mature than every single girl in
I
this,
mean,
this anime.
yeah. And I think part of, again, like, Ouran High School Host Club is such a charming anime, and people say that it's bad because of the jokes and, like, because it makes fun of, like, and I'm like, dude, compared to an anime like Rent a Girlfriend, Ouran High School Host Club is a fucking masterpiece because it does what it does and it does it while being very self-aware of what it's trying to do. While Rent a Girlfriend, again, like, we can make the argument that, you know, the author had whatever intentions, but like at the end of the day, Rent a Girlfriend as a show on its own, or as a piece of media on its own, right? Manga or show, is so entrenched in doing what it's doing that it doesn't take a second to step back and wonder like what these misogynistic comments are doing to the rest of the plot. Because here's the thing, right? There are anime out there like Fairy Tail, right? Where the plot isn't about romance. It's about like magic or adventure or something else. It's not like a romance plot. And so when people when there are characters on there that say misogynistic things, it's not necessarily informing the rest of the anime. Like, it's not a commentary on the plot, right? It's just that character being a misogynist, right? But when you have a show that is based specifically on the romantic content and is labeled as a romantic comedy, right, for the express purpose of portraying a certain type of romance, and then you do this, first making the premise something that is like supposed to be contractual yet never consensual. Like, yes, Chizuru has a contract, and in many ways she has consented to this relationship, but in like the most important and most vital ways she hasn't, because like she always keeps saying that she's doing this because she needs a job and she needs work. And so again, like in a very fundamental way, like she hasn't necessarily consented to be romantic with these men. She's only consenting to the promise of like a financial gain, which is, again, something that like relates back to sex work and like the complexities within that and the moral like dilemmas that we find in that, and like the people who, you know, have to find work that way. And it's just like, never once are any of these things addressed, and it's so much worse when you take a look at the show just from, again, like a dialogue perspective or like a characterization perspective, and you're like, not only is this a romance anime that is inherently flawed at its core because the premise just does not work, because it just doesn't work, like the way that it just doesn't work, right? But like, and then you look at the characters and you're like, okay, so you're a misogynistic asshole. You're a misogynistic asshole. You're a misogynistic asshole. All the girls have internalized misogyny. The main character is a male, right? So the only person's like internal monologue that we get is a male, right? The only other like mature female character in this that isn't a rent-a-girlfriend, right? Because there are other women in this show, the younger women, right? That are either rent-a-girlfriends or like friends, I guess, quote unquote, or like companions to Kazuya, and they're all young, right? They're all very young, but like the only mature perspective that we ever get in this show is fucking Kazuya's grandma. Like, there's so many things wrong with this show that I can't put my finger on one of them, but like as a woman, I am simply offended. Like, like I'm just offended by everything.
You're like, this is the height of what this show thinks women are.
Yeah.
Granny.
And it's just offensive, and it's generally like,
no, there's Chizuru's grandma who's does not have enough screen time for us to know if she's awful or not yet.
Yeah, like she's just kind of like exists. She's almost like an NPC. But I think in conclusion, to wrap it all up, right? Like, it's just sad that media like this still exists. I think, like, I know that, you know, there will always be a place in media for shit like this because there is a target audience for it, and like that's also really sad to think about, but it is just kind of shocking to me that we are in the 21st century, right, on the cusp of, you know, these huge social and political changes that happen literally every single day, and yet we still have like this weird niche of like extreme misogynistic media, extremely misogynistic media, right, like to the extent of, because I feel like if we were looking at a misogyny spectrum, if you will, correct, to look at this graph, right, if I can direct your attention to figure 1A, like the most misogynistic media piece, right, like if I were to pull an example, like I would put Rent a Girlfriend there. right?
Uh-huh.
To the extreme. Like this is objectifying people and women as playthings, right? To the literal extreme. And again, if the tone of the show was different, or if Kazuya had, you know, if even if I also feel like it would be different if Kazuya didn't have his internal monologue, because then we would be examining him almost as like a third person character as well, right? But he is the main character. We get all of his thoughts play by play, right? Like
Yeah.
it's just everything that's wrong with everything that could have gone wrong went wrong, kind of thing. You know what I mean? But yeah, no, it's just
Yeah,
offensive.
I do get the general feeling from the show so many times where it's like there was something that could have been done here that actually could have been interesting.
Yeah.
Uh, and it did not make that play very consistently. For like every single choice in which they could have made a choice in which this could have actually been something very interesting and like thoughtful and like explore this idea, this concept, very well, and it just like it didn't every single time. Squandered opportunity, I guess, is the name of
Yup.
the show.
Yeah. It's just kind of sad too, like as a person who appreciates good writing and craves good writing, like watching something that just doesn't have good writing like physically puts me in pain.
Hey, you gotta learn your lessons. Gotta learn your lessons from this.
Yeah, I have to learn how to
Right.
savor it in a different way, but yeah, it was hard for me to watch this.
All right. So they're at the hospital.
Oh gosh, we aren't even
He
finished
has
with the
lied.
first
No, we're
episode.
not.
God damn it.
He has lied to his grandmother that this is his girlfriend, and his grandma's like, "Oh, she's so pretty. Have you had sex with her yet?" Right? And then everyone's really awkward here, and then Chizuru keeps going along with it because like, I guess this is not crossing a boundary for her. But she keeps going along with it, and she's like, "No, yeah, we're actually dating and all that stuff." But she's also like internally freaking out because this is also like the same hospital her grandma's at. So
Oh,
she
yeah.
needs to GTFO before uh she runs into her grandma and has to explain that she is this dude's boyfriend, because why would anyone ever want to explain why you're Kazuya's boyfriend?
But also,
Um
she's just scared that her grandma's gonna find out that she's a rent-a-girlfriend because she doesn't, like, her grandma doesn't know, which I think is, like, a valid thing to be scared of.
yeah, that's
But
fair.
it's really weird that, like, anyways, continue. Yeah, it's just weird.
Yeah, so hijinks ensues. This like really weird scene where they hide like under the covers of like a hospital bed,
Oh
and it's like
God, I forgot about
I
that.
don't like it's just weird. Didn't need to be there. Takes up a good chunk of the runtime, uh,
Oh God.
and does not befit the situation at all.
Uh,
But they eventually get discovered, um, and now she has to pretend to be Kazuya's boyfriend because it's either that or like explain that she's a rental, and she's not gonna do that.
yeah.
Um, so that whole situation blows over, and then like they leave the hospital with that whole mess, right? And they agree that they're gonna tell their grandmothers
The
that they
truth.
broke up, right? Because that is the responsible thing to do. You've already messed up once, you've lied, but we can learn from this, and we can
Yes.
do better, Kazuya.
Yes.
And the show and the episode leaves off, and it's like, yes, we can do better. Um,
Ah. Yes.
and,
Or
and that is the
so
closest we
we
get to character
thought.
development
Yeah. Or
for the
so
entire
we
season.
fucking thought. Oh my God. Again, I was like, when they were like, yeah, like it'd be a good idea just to like tell our grandmas that we broke up so that we don't have to keep lying to them because we both care about our grandmas. And I was like, okay, like that seems like a very mature resolution to the end of this, story. Like good for y'all. Like and I really did think that like Chizuru was going to be one of many rent-a-girlfriends that Kazuya would like go throughout the series. Like I thought that that was what it was. I thought that that was what the series was about. Like when I heard the title
How
Rent-a-Girlfriend,
naive.
I know. If only, right? Like, god damn it. So I thought that, that was like the end of it, and it would just continue to sort of have like these like near misses kind of thing of like he would get close to a girl or like have an emotionally charged encounter with her, like the one that he experienced with Chizuru and his grandma, but then like it would never work out for him because I do think like they had sort of hinted at that with like his ex-girlfriend at the beginning of the show being like, oh, it didn't work out with his ex-girlfriend and his family is really concerned about him having a girlfriend, but he never seems to lock down a girlfriend. So it would have been interesting to see him like keep trying to rent a girlfriend and keep trying to make it work, but it never worked out. But to our surprise, Chizuru comes back in the most unexpected way.
Wait, dude, you pitched such a good show. What?
I'm fucking trying, dude. I'm trying so
genuinely,
hard.
that would be really interesting, right? And there's like an exploration of like, why even have a girlfriend? What's the point of being in a relationship? What is love? Like, are familial expectations like genuinely a good thing to be concerned about when it comes to your love life? Like, yeah. That's a cool show.
Yeah, I know. What is it? I know it's a cool show because I fucking wrote it and I'm a good writer. But these fucking assholes were like, no, that's not what we're gonna do. We're gonna be dickheads and give you something entirely different and yet so much worse and somehow also not have a plot. Like, there's no plot to this show, really. Like,
there's no plot.
There's no fucking plot.
I think we are getting very close to what the plot loop is. So what happens after in episode 2? We start episode 2. What's going on?
Oh god, I don't even fucking remember. Oh, okay. So like, yeah. So at the end of the episode, they're like, okay, like we're done. And then the beginning of the first episode, Kazuya bumps into someone on campus, and it's Chizuru, and he recognizes her. And so he recognizes her. What?
Can I go on a weird rant? Like,
yes. Please go on a weird rant. Right. Weird rant.
Her door says Ichinose on it, so I'm assuming that's her legal name. You would probably write like your legal name on like your paperwork for like your housing and things like that.
Yes. Right. That is her real name. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so her door says Ichinose, and it seems like Chizuru is like some sort of stage name, which would make sense, right? You probably wouldn't want to use your real name in this situation. So I find it really weird that like throughout the rest of the show, like all of her friends like call her like Chizuru, like anyone every time like even when she's like at the beach episode, right? And she's in her Ichinose like disguise, quote unquote.
Yeah.
Right. All of her friends are still calling her Chizuru, which I think is like just like a weird like world building like. It's not like the worst thing the show has done.
Oh shit!
I find it really odd. Yeah.
Wait, no, you're really right. Wait.
Yeah. It's so weird that like all the people who like should be calling her Ichinose if she's actually trying to like have a disguise, call her Chizuru. And like even in situations in which like Kazuya and her like start to becoming like less formal and like or talking to each other not as like rentals, but as like neighbors. Oh yeah, by the way. Not only do they go to the same college, they also are neighbors. Sorry.
Oh yeah, no. He discovers that after he finds her on campus, where like they're like, "Oh my god, I can't believe you go to the same school as I do. You can't tell anyone I'm a rental girlfriend because like it's gonna put my future at jeopardy." Blah blah blah. And then he goes home. He's like, "Whatever. That was a weird encounter." And then they discover that they're neighbors, which is the fucking like I don't get how this show thinks it is doing something by doing that because, like, if Kazuya, of all people, lived next to a young woman, he would be the first to know. He would be the first to know. He would fucking stalk her and shit and, like, try to smell her room through the walls. Like... You're trying to tell me that he didn't know.
He does look at the wall and starts getting turned on, so
yeah, it's not that far it's fucking awful. Like I can't even deal. Like, and so I'm thinking. Okay, so yeah, so I looked it up, and so her real name is Ichinose Chizuru, but her like stage name, let's call it, is Mizuhara. Okay. Mizuhara Chizuru. So
that is
technically.
ill-advised decision.
Yeah, but technically her first name is still Chizuru. But I do know that Japanese people tend to call people by their last name. So I'm assuming that there are some people that call her like Mizuhara-san, and then some people who call her Ichinose-san or Chan, instead of just Chizuru, because. But that's an interesting thing. Like, why change her last name and not her first name?
Yeah. It's not the biggest deal. Not for the show.
Not, but that's very interesting.
In another show, this would be the biggest deal.
I know, yeah.
Not
Like
this one.
in another show that's actually smart and fucking knows what it's doing. Yeah, this would be a plot point, but it's surprisingly not. So he finds out that they're neighbors, and basically the same rule still stands, like, don't come over to my house, like, don't associate with me. And then later he finds out that his grandma's coming over and that she wants to see Chizuru again. And fucking Kazuya can't find it in himself to disappoint his grandma, so he goes over to Chizuru's house and harasses her to the point that she says yes.
Damn. Yeah, so that whole plot, grandma's just being weird. He keeps having to keep up this lie instead of just telling her, hey, like, I don't have a girlfriend and I may have lied the first time. Or he doesn't even have to, like, come up with the complete truth. He can just say, like, I broke up with her and, like, we would be good enough here.
Yeah, it just didn't work out.
but-
Like, it could be that simple, but no, it's not.
No other explanation needed.
I
So,
will.
like,
Okay.
that whole, like,
I will also say that like the scene where his grandmother comes over and basically like has a whole speech to him where she talks about how, like, you know, it was probably never going to work out with you and someone that sweet, and like that's okay, you know, I just wanted to like be able to see you like have someone and love someone before I passed away, is actually like kind of sweet. And then they ruin it by making the grandma such a fucking pervert. But it's not that, I mean, he does harass her. Like, he goes over to her house multiple times after she keeps saying no over and over and over again, constantly being like, no, I'm not, like, on the clock right now. No, I'm not going to be your rental girlfriend. Like, stop. He does it, like, 3 or 4 times. And then finally she hears the grandma through her, like, balcony door talking about, you know, all of that stuff, and like that's what prompts her to make the decision to come over and like pretend to be his girlfriend again. And I will say, like, I think that was a okay way to resolve that, but like he did still harass her, like even if it wasn't the main reason why she came over, it still happened.
It does feel like he gets a lot of outs from Chizuru.
He gets every out from Chizuru. Like, she never once,
Even though he's like,
yeah, no, she never once like puts up her boundaries for real. I'm sorry, I keep interrupting you. Continue. Sorry.
there you go. So that whole subplot happens, and then they agree that only rentals on Wednesdays. We're gonna go to the hospital, and that's it. And you gotta pay me the whole day for it. Fair.
Good lord.
And then, you know, like, it's not the best solution, but like,
it's a
we're
solution.
not in like awful territory yet. And then we really get into awful territory when one day he's like, I forget why, he's like with Chizuru, probably going to the hospital. Like, it all blends together in my head at this point.
I know, yeah,
and then
me too.
And then he runs into his friends, and they're like, who's this like hot girl with you? Because the only thing that they can think about is like sex, right? So they're like, who is this like super hot girl that like you're like, that by implication you are like fucking?
Yes.
Right?
Wonderful. Yes.
And like, instead of like saying any, like, instead of not digging himself into the hole, like, he immediately just goes and lies to his friends and like, this is my girlfriend. And then I think this is like this. If you wanted to watch the show, you can watch up to this point and you have watched the entire like series. Like, this is just it.
Yep.
Forever.
No, it literally is.
It.
Yeah. Oh, we haven't even brought in mommy yet. So his friends are like, oh my god, like, are you having sex with her? If you are, don't have sex with her yet, because like she's gonna ruin
Yeah.
your experiences with every other woman, and no other woman will ever compare. And it's like, okay, dude, like, great,
Because sex
wonderful.
is only about how attractive your partner is. Like,
Yes.
literally nothing else.
Yes. Also, like, that is a wonderful way to think about your sexual experiences and all of your relationships after, like, your first girlfriend, and, like, just automatically considering that the most attractive person that you've dated will always be the best person you've ever dated. Like, wonderful, great, awesome, great messaging there. So his friends are like, oh my god, like, you're out, like, and about with your girlfriend, like, that's cool, like, do you want to come and, like, hang out with, like, you know, our friends? And because we're about to, like, go have some, you know, dinner and drinks and stuff. And of course it wasn't in the contract, but Kazuya violates her rules again, and they go to dinner with his friends.
Yeah,
Have I
that's pretty
mentioned how
fucked up.
much I fucking hate this guy?
You should hate this guy.
Because,
He's
like,
an awful person.
if it were me, I would be, if I was Chizuru, right? If I was in her position, I would simply take the money and walk away. I'd be like, okay, I did what you paid me for, and now you're going to violate my rules. No thank you, and then I would leave. But no, she goes with him. Ugh. And there is Mommy. I don't like saying that name.
There's his ex.
I don't like saying that name.
We can use her last. We can use her last name, Manami. Feels a little less weird.
That is still very close to Mommy, I feel like. I feel like the author did not give us an out there where he was like, oh, you don't want to say the word Mommy? Guess what her last name's gonna be? Nanami. Fuck you. So yeah, that is Kazuya's ex, and she's super cute, and now it's super awkward.
Also, I like how all his friends are like, I didn't know she was gonna be there, and like,
yeah,
like it's established that like their friend group includes her,
yes,
and also you had to invite people. Like,
yeah,
I don't know how she got there without people not
being
knowing.
invited.
Yes. Either they're dumb as hell, or they just set up their friend.
I think it's just dumb as hell, because this is fucking Rent a Girlfriend we're talking about here, dude. Like, you can't
not
expect
enough brain cells
anything
to go
from
around
these people.
to set up your friends.
I'm also pretty sure that, like, Kazuya and his two friends share, like, their quarter brain cell. Like, they have a quarter brain cell, and then they pass it around between the three of them, and every time one of them actually uses it, it gets smaller.
By the end of the series,
Yeah.
they're not even operating.
Yeah.
There are no brain cells.
Yeah,
It has just reduced to the...
That's the only explanation for all the shit fuck assery that happens on this fucking show. So, Mommy makes it really weird by being a jealous asshole and, like, poking fun at Kazuya and, like, making fun of him.
Okay. So let me say something about Mommy. That, like, I genuinely really hate about this show. And it's like how much she gets villainized. Okay, like, she is a terrible person. That is that. She is like psychopathic,
Yes.
terrible, awful person.
Yes.
But that's a writing decision.
Yes.
The author chose to make her like that.
Yes.
Right? And she actually, as an ex, doesn't just stand in for like any woman. She stands in for like an ex who would break up with you. Right?
Yes.
So
For no reason.
It really, yeah, it really feels like she is a projection of like all like bad breakups, and it's like kind of like vilifying women who break up with men in general, and kind of casting women who break up with men as like psychopaths.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
I think that is like my biggest like gripe to have with like her character. It's just like the very like I can understand why you wouldn't like her as a character because she's actually a psychopath, but I don't even think that's her biggest problem. The biggest problem is that what she represents and what she stands for. I think it's like so problematic.
Yeah, no, you're totally right. And I will say I actually didn't realize that, but now that you bring it up, that's a really good point, and it segues perfectly into like the game of cat and mouse that they sort of start playing between Chizuru, Kazuya, and Mami. So when they go to the dinner and Mami goes out of her way to, you know, sort of make fun of Kazuya and poke fun at him and basically threaten his masculinity, right? Which is a huge fucking deal for no reason. It's actually Chizuru that is the one that gets mad and not Kazuya. Kazuya sort of sits and takes it.
Because mommy's right, because mommy's like calling him. Okay, she's kind of wrong for like doing it the way she did, but she's also kind of right because she's like, yeah, have you like seen the way he like stares at like women and like you and like how he's like obviously always thinking about sex,
And you're like, I can't even argue with that. Yeah, you're right.
I mean, like the way she did is super mean, but it's not even wrong.
It's
and,
not
like,
even
he
wrong.
knows it.
It's not even
Yeah,
wrong.
he knows it, so he doesn't like say shit about it.
Yeah,
because she's
like,
right.
He's like, nah, she's right. Like, it's fucked up, but she's right. And so, at the point that Chizuru sort of gets up and storms off because she's like, stop talking shit about my boyfriend, who isn't actually even her fucking boyfriend, but whatever.
She is going the extra mile, man.
Yeah, Kazuya doesn't actually go after her. He doesn't stand up with her, you know, he just kind of lets her go. And Mommy sort of acts like really drunk and like tries to get him to come home with her. And this is again, like, once you've watched the second episode, it's basically just like what happens for the rest of the show. Like, he cannot decide whether or not he has feelings for Mommy and whether or not he wants to use Chizuru as a weapon for revenge to make her jealous or as a tool, right, to get her back. Which
I like how they're both. I like how both of his options are awful options.
which by the way, like, yes, neither of those options are good, but also like either way you swing it, Chizuru becomes a machination for him, right? Like, she is one of his machinations, regardless of, you know, what he's actually trying to get out of it. And I God, this fucking show. So yeah, there's that moment where like Mommy is like, oh, like, you know, like, your girlfriend is like, yeah, I don't think she likes me very much, and like is trying to sort of like play coy with him. And there is a moment where Kazuya has a moment of like apprehension about the situation, right? Because he's like, well, like, you're the one who broke up with me, like why are you acting like this all of a sudden? Like, is it because you're jealous, blah blah blah? And like, instead of actually doing some kind of introspection on why this is toxic behavior and why she should avoid it altogether, he starts like plotting. And that's sort of like where the rest of the plot again like comes in. It's not even a fucking plot, it's just a vicious fucking cycle of him doing the same shit over and over again. But he like thinks about it and then decides that it doesn't really matter, that he doesn't care. And then he decides to rope. And again, like, if it was just a game of cat and mouse between him and Mommy, like, it wouldn't be a problem. But then he decides to use Chizuru as a tool, right, in this situation that she doesn't need to be a part of. Like, Chizuru is entirely consequential when it comes to what actually happens between him and Mommy, but she becomes this like weird agent of chaos where like she starts to have her own feelings for Kazuya, but while trying to like fully maintain this like quote unquote professional relationship. And it's like, dude, if you want to be part of this love triangle, like, fucking commit, right? But if you're not, you're just making it worse. You're making it more complicated for two people who frankly are horrible enough that they deserve each other, right? So either step in or step off. Like, there's no reason for you to be skirting the edge of whatever this is. And it's like, at a certain point, she starts doing shit and like, it's not even for money. And it's like, I can't even fucking deal. Like, I don't understand.
To be fair, at this point, she's like not really like into him. It's just like, or at least the way that I think the show wants it to be said is that she's not really into him. She like has this whole speech about how like, actually, she has this whole really interesting speech about how like rental girlfriends could be really good for helping you move on.
No, she literally has like good points, and she has good writing points, and she has like, she literally goes out of her way to make give the writers points on how they can use Rent-A-Girlfriend productively, and then they actively decide not to.
Yeah, and then instead of like moving on, she ends up saying. So she has this whole great speech about like rental girlfriends could be like a really good way to like help people move on, and then she turns around and says like, "I'm going to help you get back with your ex," which like I feel like as someone who has seemingly spent a lot of time genuinely thinking about how her job genuinely could benefit people in that way, it's kind of odd that her conclusion ends up being, "I'm going to help you get back with your ex," especially when like she saw how how his ex treated him. Damn, I am not. she saw how bad mommy could be to Kazuya firsthand, and somehow her conclusion is still like, you know what? I think, maybe she's just so fed up with him, and she's just like, I need to get him with the worst.
She's like, no, they deserve
outcome.
each other. But the thing is that she's not doing it for that, right? Because again, if this was her being like, oh, like I'm gonna show him like he's such an asshole, like he deserves to be with this girl, like I'm gonna make sure that they get together and that they deserve each other. This show would work on some fucking meta level. It would work that way, right? Because it would be kind of fun, and it would be like it would make Chizuru a protagonist worth fighting for, even if she wasn't the one we were getting the internal monologue of, right? Like even if Kazuya was still the main character, but Chizuru was like this her own like sort of agent of chaos, and she had like her own sort of like freaky motive, it would make the story more plausible. But the world revolves around Kazuya.
Movie.
Yeah, like
it would be like a serial killer movie, except he's not trying to murder him. He's trying to get her like in a toxic relationship.
Yeah, no, and it would be like more psychological, even if it was shallow. Like even if they never really developed it in any way other than her just being like an asshole and like trying to get these people back together. Like even if that was it, like it would still make the show more complex and like emotionally compelling in a certain way. But Kazuya is
also if you do that, you can still have the toxic relationships and the misogyny, but everyone kind of understands that it's all just fucked up. So like we can have it,
right?
And understand that this is like bad.
Yes.
Whereas like the way the show goes with it, there never really seems to be an understanding that the show like is the show seems to have lip service saying that like these things are bad, the toxicity and the misogyny, but it never really like pulls the trigger on that, and never really like goes 100% and just being like, this is all really fucked up.
Because the show like doesn't want to commit to what it wants, right? It wants to sort of like have its cake and eat it too. And it's like, no, you either make this, like you either go all in on this, right? Or again, like this is the same problem that I had with fucking Chizuru as a character. It's like you either step in or step off, right? Like go all in, or like, because Rent-A-Girlfriend, again, like, it skirts the edge of everything, which simultaneously makes it nothing, right? It's just empty, right? It's not quite psychological enough to work, to be, like, to, get people thinking, right? It's not like misogynistic enough either to make it like a commentary on misogyny or like a parody or like a satirizing of misogyny. It's not like touching on the objectification of women enough, right? Because see, if it had gone in all in, right, on any one of these points, right, on any point at all, it would have worked in a way that would have made it like, okay, so like this is what the show is about. But the show can't decide what it's about, right? It wants Kazuya to be the main character, but Chizuru is also a protagonist, but we never once get her personal input because, again, he's a misogynist, so he doesn't give a fuck. And it's like, he's not really a reliable narrator because there's things going on in his head that aren't actually happening, and like
are you telling me that his narration okay, let's run with the idea that he's not a reliable narrator. You're telling me that this is the version of the story that he is telling that's supposed to make him look better.
I know. Like, it doesn't even work on that. Like, he's like, I'm in so much pain. You don't even understand. Like I can't even deal, bro. Like if it had gone all in on any one of these things, it would have somewhat worked to like make the story at least compelling in some way, because it would have been a commentary on at least something, but it doesn't know what it wants to be, you know? And at times, like, the show takes on this, like, weirdly serious tone, because that's the other thing, too, right? Is that if it was Rent a Girlfriend and it was, like, all very lighthearted, like, no conflict really, but, like, all of the same things were happening, right? You'd be like, oh, okay, like, it's just like a romance romp, you know, like I don't have to think about it too much. But then like there are these, again, like this scene with his grandma, like talking about how like she wants him to be with someone before she dies and shit. Like that shit was fucking deep, and it has no place being in an anime like this, right? Because it fucks everything else up, and it like the boundaries just get fucked up, and like the it's just it gerrymanders itself around everything, therefore becoming nothing, and it's fucking insane, because this anime doesn't work. Like it just doesn't work. Like as
Except
a
it does because it's making a lot of
story.
money.
And that's the thing, is it like it's such a it shouldn't fucking work. Like no one should find this story compelling. And yet somehow it has a 97%. Yeah. Like what? Like what are you watching? Like let me see if I can pull up some of these ratings and see what people are saying about it, that they, I don't know. Let's see. But I don't know if you want to comment on that, but I think like this doesn't have like a genre. Like it's not, it's just romance, but it doesn't want to be any kind of romance, you know? It's so
Yeah,
weird.
it's it feels like if I had to give it a genre, it would be pandering, frankly. Uh, because I am hard pressed to call it a romance because I think the draw of a romance is in the chemistry of the leads, right? There is very little chemistry here. You can maybe try to call it a rom com, but like a lot of the jokes center around Kazuya being in a situation that's like hard for him. But most of these situations that are hard for him are because he put himself into these situations through his lying, right? And I find it very hard to laugh at that, or laugh at that in a genuine way, right? Like the whole joke is like feel bad for this dude who's like having to like who's like about to like get caught stalking someone, right? And like that's just not funny. Don't stalk people, and you won't be in the situation, and you won't accidentally like reveal yourself, right? Or like his grandma's about to find out, like you wouldn't have this problem, like if you didn't lie to your grandma. So like the whole premise of the joke is just never funny. So like it's not a romance because the chemistry's not there. It's not comedy because it's not funny. Like uh pandering. That is my genre for it. All right, so I think we have gone through like what this show is. Like I've explained like maybe the first like episode or like
Well,
three
two
or something like
episodes.
that.
Yeah.
2 episodes, right? So we've basically
Um
explained the whole series to you guys.
yeah, that's
Um,
basically it.
why not we just like hit our highlights for the rest of the series and just kind of like get some things that really stuck out, and just like talk about those for a bit instead of like deep diving like we did for the first 2 episodes or whatever.
Um so I just looked up the reviews for this show, and I am shocked. I'm
You're shocked?
actually in shock. Like
Where are you reading these reviews on?
so I just looked up Rent a Girlfriend reviews on like Google Chrome, and
These are like
it
Google
just has
reviews.
like it has just the Google reviews on it, I think.
To be fair, the
So
ones on my anime list are like pretty. Like the first one is like 1,000 reactions and it's like
what
not
the fuck?
recommended.
Oh,
So
good lord. Okay, so well, here. Um First of all, there is a comment on here that says, "I love this anime as it is funny, a little sad, and includes a little drama in it as well.
I guess that's true, but to the show's detriment.
But like, what? Like a little drama? A
There's a
little.
little drama.
A little. A little? Really? That's what you constituted? Okay, well, let's continue. It's most likely unsuitable for 10-year-olds or younger, as it has a tad of sexual stuff in it, but it is not NSFW. Let me be crystal fucking clear to anyone listening right now. Rent a Girlfriend is NSFW, and I would recommend that you guard this shit from anyone younger than 10, anyone older than 10. There is a part where literally Kazuya is like jerking off in his room, and there's a whole sex scene going on like on the screen, and he's like imagining it that way. Like it's like literally like sans nudity sex scene. Like it's soft porn. Like
Did you remember what the closing credits is?
I didn't watch the closing credits on.
It's literally just a masturbation joke.
Oh God!
He has a soda. For the whole thing, he has a soda can and he's just shaking it, and like all the main cast girls are just like cheerleading him on.
No.
I don't know how it gets more clear than that this is what the show is about.
No,
Like, if anyone thinks this is a tad bit at SFW, you gotta be kidding yourself. Literally, the show every episode ends with a sex joke.
Oh my God!
I'm sorry for bringing this back into your memory.
I just want it to stop. I just want to go home.
Right. You are home.
I am home, and I still want to go home. Oh gosh. Okay, well, I actually don't really know what happens for the rest of the series. I guess I could like comment on a bit on like what I did see and where.
Okay.
I mean, this whole thing is it's just a black splotch. Like I hate it. But what else happens?
So I think for the next 3 episodes you did watch the beach episodes, and then the weird one where like grandma's like groping Chizuru for no good reason. And any thoughts on the beach episodes?
Oh fuck. Okay. Well, I guess we can talk about
It was
that.
very satisfying to watch him get punched.
It was very satisfying to watch him get punched. I'm also like not really sure what the whole point of them like actually having a fight was, because okay, so like basically the beach episode is them like trying to break up again because like they were like, this is going too far, like all of our friends know about it now, and like you're getting invited to these trips and things, like it's getting out of hand, like it's better that we sort of like nip it in the bud now before it gets too complicated. Again, they come to a mature conclusion and it never fucking works because neither of them can set clear boundaries with each other. And so she's initially not at the beach with him. Like he's at the beach with his friends and she's with her friends, but then like they end up meeting up, and in a crazy turn of events to try and make mommy jealous, Chizuru puts herself in the middle of their friend vacation as the rental girlfriend.
Ruining her own vacation in the process.
Yes, exactly. Like what the fuck is going on? And while they're at the beach, it's just a whole fucking mess. Basically the same thing that was happening at the restaurant in the first episode happens at the beach. It's just longer.
I also think it's really interesting that the whole beach episode is really just trying to set up that scene where like Chizuru falls off the boat and then Kazuya like jumps in to go save her. Which for one, everyone acts like that's a thing you would only ever do for your girlfriend. So like they have to be dating, and he's like, and like when he tells his friends later he's gonna break up with her, he's like, oh, but you like jumped in the water to save her, right? So that like has to show that like you're like, I don't know, in too deep or something.
Wait, you're so right. I didn't even think about that.
It's really weird. And like here's the thing, right? Like doing like something good for someone is like is not something that's exclusive to something you would do for your girlfriend, I don't think. And possibly not a very good reason to like not break up a relationship that you think is not working. Because from his friend's perspective, that's what they think is happening, right? I think they like from their perspective, I think it's kind of messed up that like they keep telling him to like stay in this relationship that he has over several times told them that like he's going to break off. So like obviously there is something like okay, if we're just from his friend's perspective, you see your friend and they're like several times have told you that they want to break up with their significant other, right? Like
Yeah.
I get maybe the first couple times you'd be like maybe reconsider, but if it keeps happening, like there
Yeah.
comes a point where you got to just be on your friend's side about this. They
Yeah.
obviously know something that they're not telling you that's actually making them like genuine consider things so hard,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
And like I think it's kind of not great friends
Yes.
that like keep them in this relationship just because she's hot.
Right. No. And yeah, you actually bring up an excellent point because specifically with his friends, there is this sort of weird dichotomy where his friends exist to make Kazuya look better, but also they are like trying their absolute fucking hardest to be like characters of their own. So, um, in a crazy turn of events, right? Like we mentioned that Kazuya gets punched and that was very satisfying. Well, his friend punches him, like his main best friend. And it's this like weird moment where Kazuya's like, I'm officially breaking up with her. And his friend like socks him in the face and he's like, how dare you? Like, this was the best thing that ever happened to you. And like, you're being an idiot, like squandering all of your opportunities, blah, blah, blah. And like, that's fine, I guess. But then like, later that friend has a conversation with Chizuru about getting back together with Kazuya, and he like tells this story about how Kazuya grew this plant or like helped him grow this plant and he was like super fucking proud of it, and I was like the whole time I was watching that I was like, they're trying so fucking hard to give Kazuya a character. They're trying so fucking hard to make him sympathetic, but it was the dumbest story. And like, and again, like the show can't pick a tone, right? So like when his friend is telling Chizuru all of this, Chizuru is like, oh, like, you know, she's like kind of like feeling sympathetic for him and she's like, oh, like that's so sweet, like maybe he is a good person after all. And then his friend like gives her tickets to the ferry that she falls off of, and like he's like, yeah, like this is like your last date or whatever, so like, you know, go have a good time. And like, and that's where she ends up falling off the boat. But it's like, first of all, again, like another example of him begging to have character that he does not deserve nor has he earned, right? And second, like his friend is sweet for looking out for him, right? But also like his friend is a fucking misogynist that like very clearly before has expressed like his intentions, that he, like his sexual intentions with Chizuru, like he thinks that she's really hot and like he wants to tap that, right? Like he is very locker room talk with her, and like you're gonna convince me that he's like about to have an emotional fucking moment with her instead of trying to like seize the fucking opportunity, like seize the fucking opportunity to be like his new girl, like to be his new boyfriend. Like that doesn't make any sense. Like, the writers cannot decide if they want these friends to be misogynistic pigs or if they want them to be good friends. And, like, and again, like, in a show like this, you can't have both, right? The friends either have to be, like, you know, good people, you know, that like would stand up for Chizuru, you know, being scorned by Kazuya, right? And stand up for Kazuya, right? You know, and trying to like have him keep a good thing that happened in his life. Or they're misogynistic pigs who objectify women, because misogynistic pigs who objectify women don't try to console their friends after losing a girl like the way that his friend tried to do. With like he tried to like intervene in this very specific like mediator way, and I'm like, that's just not how misogynistic pigs think. So you can't have your cake and eat it too. You can't have your friends have making these comments again, like especially in a romantic comedy, right? Like or I keep saying romantic comedy. It's not even a fucking comedy. Like in a romance genre,
It is
right?
trying
Like,
to be. It is trying to be.
really trying fucking hard to be, but it's really not working. Like you just can't have it both ways. You know what I mean? And it just tries so hard to be something that it's not, and like it ends up falling flat, and they end up still together at the end of the fucking episode. Kazuya and Chizuru, they're still like.
Can we go back to the plant story for a second? Just to,
Yes,
like,
let's
let
go back to
people
the
know
plant story.
what's going on with this? Because
Please.
we told them not to watch it, so they need to hear it.
Oh god. Okay. Well, I'll leave that to you.
Kazuya's friend, in order to try to convince Chizuru that you should stay with this very great man, because when he was little, okay,
Oh
he had
god.
this plant that we were growing in class, and we were trying to grow this specific type of plant with a specific type of seed, but it accidentally got infested with a weed, with the seed of a weed that I accidentally put in there, right? But you know the thing about this guy, you know, no matter how weird his plant looked, he kept raising it. He kept raising it, and he passionately grew this plant, and at some point it became a big plant, and he was very proud of it. And that's the type of guy that you should stay in a relationship with, because that shows persistence.
This proves everything. It resolves everything.
Bro, no, just imagine you're trying to convince your friend's SO to stay with them, and this is the best you got. This is it. This is it. And like the show plays this up as like this like dramatic moment where he's like really getting into the psyche of his friend and like making a really strong point. Like it's so funny. It's so funny. It's not trying to be funny, but
And they're like genuinely having an emotional moment, right? Like
the music swelling and like
yeah, like Chizuru and this guy, which I don't even fucking know what his name is, but like they're having, it's coded as this sort of like, again, like his friend is like doing a thing for him, which by the way, Kazuya was listening the entire time.
because he's a stalker.
I forgot about that for a second. Yeah, like he's there listening behind a fucking bush being creepy as fuck, right? But like it's so crazy to me that they're trying to code this as like this very emotional, heartfelt thing that's like happening outside Kazuya's purview, but he's there. So it's not actually happening behind his back, and somehow it like really cheapens the moment that they have together. And like
he has like no reason to be there either. Like you could just write that scene without him. Like he actually doesn't affect the scene at all.
he
But
literally
he's only there
doesn't.
to like be creepy, I guess.
He's just there to like cry behind the bush. Like, and so yeah, so his
About his tragic backstory.
yeah, about his fucking tragic backstory, which like again, like I don't think that like the victim, not the victim, the villain here is just the bad writing and this like incessant need slash urge slash thing that they try to do to like give their characters emotional complexity, give the characters that are misogynistic pig assholes that we have seen for the first few episodes, right? Trying to give them like a deeper emotional characterization that again, like just like Kazuya, that they have done nothing to earn or deserve or need. Like his friends don't fucking need that.
And they try to earn it with the weirdest backstory.
And like again, like I feel like this just feeds into like the general vibe that the author just doesn't really know anything about how the world like actually works. Like if you had told me that this was a show written by like a 12-year-old middle schooler, like I'd fucking believe you, because that's how it comes off. It comes off as someone who knows things about sex, knows things about attraction, knows things about love, but has never actually been in love, never actually been attracted to someone or understands it, never been, you know, psychologically motivated to find motivations and like emotional pursuance reference to these emotions that they're feeling, things like love and attraction, right? And did not bother to do the research on it anyways, right? Like, it gives me the vibe of a young person who hasn't lived enough life yet to realize that what they're portraying isn't true. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's Rent a Girlfriend is like it feels like that. You know, it feels like a headcanon of like some random middle school kid. But like, and it's again, like, I think that's also part of why it comes so close yet is so far, is because like it has these like notions of what it wants to do, right? And it's trying really hard to like kind of do them, but without
And
the
like,
actual like emotional backstory and sort of like motivation behind it, like it's very hard for you to convince an audience that these things are authentic.
yeah. And like, I think it kind of knows that too, which is kind of funny to me. Because like, the whole reason I want to talk about the beach was the scene where like he jumps off the boat, saves Chizuru and all that stuff, right? And then like it starts getting hinted that Chizuru's like starting to have feelings for him, right? So like the show in that way
Oh
kind of
God.
understands. I find it really funny and interesting in that way, in which like the show kind of understands that there are actually no redeeming quality. There is actually no reason anyone would ever want to date Kazuya, except for the fact that like once he jumped off a boat to save your life, right?
Yes, that's
And
the
like
oh, that's the most heavy
and
lifting.
you know how much the show understands that. Kazuya then meets another girl, right, who falls off a bridge, who he then jumps to save, and that is the inciting incident of her falling in love with him. So like literally 2 for 2 in the show. The only
Two
reason
for
anyone would
two.
ever start having feelings for Kazuya is because
He
of
would
that
jump
one
off a bridge
action.
to save you.
Exactly. And like the show literally just cannot think of another reason to make girl number 2 fall in love with Kazuya, so they reuse it. because they know that there are no redeeming qualities for this dude.
That is actually crazy that you mentioned that, because I never actually saw the part where he saves the second girl, so that's actually hilarious. But it also reminds me of like, I don't know if you've ever seen any K dramas, but like Boys Over Flowers is an old K drama that came out in like
Uh-huh.
2000. I want to say like 2005 or 6, but it's super fucking old. But like, you know how you like you watch like modern K dramas, right? Or like you watch a modern type of media and then you go back and you watch like the old ones and you're like, oh, like that's where that trope came from, or like that's what
Yeah.
that thing is a reference to. So, Boys Over Flowers is like the amalgamation of all of like the romance tropes that started becoming big in Korea and like are still kind of big now. It's basically about
Mm-hmm.
this group of like really rich boys that like latch on to this like poor girl who has like an attitude, you know, very Oron High School Host Club, right? Like very fitting the
Okay.
mold for them kind of thing, right?
Uh-huh. But
And
it did it first.
yeah, but like when you mentioned the falling off the bridge thing, like that is something that happens multiple times throughout that series with like several different guys. And like every time it gets more intense. So like the first time it was a pool, which like I don't know why. Like, by the way, right? By the way, the first time it was a pool, and it was actually kind of funny because they kind of subverted it by making it like the girl who fell in, like she's a professional swimmer, or she wants to become a professional swimmer, and the guy who falls in the pool is like she
Dead
saves
weight.
him. Yeah, like she
Okay.
saves him, and so you know there was that, but then like they keep having like near misses after that for a little bit, and then like she falls in the ocean and like apparently forgets how to swim because it's the ocean and like it's his turn to save her, so like he goes into the ocean and saves her, but then like that's where they find out that like the other male lead has a crush on her too because he also jumped off the boat to save her in the ocean. And it's like when you were describing that and you were like 2 for 2, that is like how you get someone to fall for you. That's immediately what came to mind. And like that's like a recurring thing now in like K dramas. It's like someone falls in a body of water and someone has to go save them. Oh God, is Rent a Girlfriend just drawing from K-drama tropes? If so, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry to the general populace. We were the criminals all along.
This was our fault, and I take responsibility.
No, that's actually hilarious
No.
though. The boat thing.
Yeah.
Oh my God, no.
It's just like,
Wait, so who's the
it's just
second
so
girl?
all right, so we can skip ahead a bit. So in a later episode, I think this is like actually the one right after where you dropped it, so you missed it by a hair. His one of his friends, not the one that punched him, but the one with the glasses, like texts him, and he's like, "Hey, like let's go on a double date," and he's like trying to flaunt his girlfriend.
Oh, that's a great
Right?
idea.
Because that's the things that you do in a healthy relationship with your friends. You flaunt your girlfriends at each other.
Oh, absolutely.
So they go on a date and all that. And then like at the end of the date, hijinks ensues, and she like trips down. Like they're on a bridge, and she like trips down the stairs, and then like he jumps and like saves her. Right.
2 for 2.
Almost beat her deep. Like, two for two. And then the next episode comes, and he runs into this girl at the school, and she like hunts him down, right? And then she corners him in the classroom, and then his best friend walks into the classroom, sees them together, right? And then she's like, "I'm done with our contract. Like, I'm not gonna be your rental girlfriend anymore. I quit being a rental girlfriend." So like, she outs that dude right there, and then she goes and like tries to start dating Kazuya.
Oh my
Right?
God.
And then everyone's like freaking out because like this is weird as hell. And
I'm
she
freaking
starts
out
trying
because
to...
this is weird as hell.
So then like hijinks ensues. See, I keep saying hijinks ensues because like the logical steps of the show make no sense. So it's really hard to remember how we get to this point. So somehow they end up with Chizuru, Kazuya, and Ruka, which is the third girl. And they're trying to figure out why this girl like wants to date him so bad. Oh yeah, by the way, she's a rental girlfriend, so she knows Chizuru's a rental, and she's like, she confronts them, and she's like, "I know you're a rental, right? So just date me instead. I'll be your actual girlfriend."
Oh, right? Interesting.
And then we get tragic backstory, and you know the show and tragic backstory. It's great.
Oh God, yeah.
Her tragic backstory is that she was born with a heart condition. Right, it's a terrible thing. Her heart is irregularly low. And if it gets too high if her heart rate gets too high, she'll like feel pain and like pass out. But when so she does the whole rental girlfriend thing to try to meet a guy who can raise her heart rate while also not having her pass out. Right? So then Kazuya saves her, and she checks her little watch with her heart rate on it, and she sees that her heart rate has increased, but she hasn't passed out, which means that she has to date this guy now.
Oh God, are you fucking serious?
Yes. So in the Rent a Girlfriend universe, in the Rent a Girlfriend universe, your heart can have a heart condition in which it will hurt you if the heart rate gets too high, unless you're in love, because then your heart knows, and it will not get too high, or it will get too high, but it won't hurt you this time, because biology works that way.
I want to go home.
So here's the really interesting thing about this character, is that like she's crazy. And she's
really?
like totally a stalker. Yeah, like she's totally stalking him, and he is okay. He should be uncomfortable by it, but do you know what his rationale for not dating her is?
Please tell me.
So he literally like, so we have his internal monologue. So like, I'm not even like implying things here. This is just what he says.
Yep.
He says, "I cannot date you because my friend rented you, and that would be weird." So it's like the weirdest version of the bro code, and like that is it. That is it. Which like I find really just like dumb, because like, one, he wants a girlfriend. Two, he definitely finds her attractive. Like the way the camera like works, you can you know, it's looking from his view. He's obviously oogling her, finds her very attractive. 3, does not cite any of the genuine reasons that you shouldn't date her. So those aren't problems for him, right?
Yeah.
Uh, and like 4, like he has this whole problem where he like needs a girlfriend to make his grandma happy, and like here's this girl who like wants to date him, right? It would like genuinely solve his problems, and he has and his only reason to not do it is because his friend rented her once. But here's even the crazier part: he doesn't just kick her, like he doesn't just like tell her like, no, I'm not gonna date you. Instead, they have a trial period where he's going to like trial date her for a bit, right? Which is like insanely frustrating to me because I can see what's happening here. He's keeping her as a backup. That's it.
Literally,
Right? Like
yeah.
he's in love with Chizuru, and he's just stringing her along as a backup because she's a bad person.
I can't even deal with that. Are you okay? So how long does this plot go on for?
For the rest of the season, I'm pretty
Shut
sure
the
that's gonna run.
fuck
For the rest of
up.
I'm pretty sure that's gonna run for the rest of the series. Also,
No.
yeah,
No.
it's pretty bad. And then he goes to get a job because like he's spending all his money renting Chizuru. So he gets a job because he's broke as hell now, and like she goes and works at his job with him. So like, you know, you can see all the things that are gonna happen having like this. Man, like I find it hard. Yeah, she's like kind of like you totally. A normal person totally shouldn't date her, but Kazuya definitely should because like he's indicated that, like all the problems that like you would normally have with dating this girl, like he doesn't care about, and like everything else just makes sense, right? Chizuru has indicated several times that he doesn't want to date him, right? So he should just like, he obviously likes this girl enough, just like stop toying with her at this point. Like it's just fucked up, right?
I don't understand what, like, from a writing perspective, what kind of, like, okay, so you have 2 girls, right? And
Yes.
and
Well, we
because
also have
here's
Mommy,
the
but
fucking thing, right? Is that like, and also Mommy is in the fucking mix of this. Great. So there is this like which again, the fact that he won't date a girl that his friend did not have sex with, right? Did not even probably touch.
didn't even actually date.
Like
It was a rental.
didn't even actually date, but like they didn't even do anything like physical with each other or anything like that, right? Like, so he doesn't even have like the excuse of like, oh, like you had sex with him, like I don't want to make things complicated. Like they did not even, it wasn't anything, right? Like they might as well have been strangers. They are strangers, and he refuses to date this girl that is like literally just offering herself up to him as like the perfect fucking person to solve every single problem in the plot so far, and he doesn't take it.
Yeah.
What the fuck, dude?
It's frustrating. It's frustrating. But you know what's the even more frustrating part? So like he's obviously uncomfortable with like the stalking and like the crossing of boundaries, even though he did agree to like trial date her, which is whatever. Right? He obviously understands why these things can be creepy and weird and uncomfortable, right? And then like the she's introduced in 2 episodes, and then the episode after that, he literally goes and stalks Chizuru.
Yeah.
Right? Like so it's like the whole plot of that episode is like he sees her on a date, right? But like they're kind of too close to be a rental date. So he's like freaking out because like what if she's actually like dating this guy? So he like stalks both of them for the whole day. Right?
Oh god, are you
And like and like there is no excuse for him not knowing why this is weird or bad or like creepy because he has an experience with stalking. Right? Like you can't even say like this is like he has to literally have put no thought into it in order to even remotely like not be reflective about how he's doing the thing that's making him uncomfortable to someone else.
Yeah.
Right. And like the only explanation is like the show has deeply internalized misogyny that it can't even identify that shit. Stalking's
Yeah.
okay if you're like a dude, but when it's a girl, she's a psycho, right? Like it does it.
I think
It's
fascinating to me that like they make mommy like this weird stalker girl, and then they make Kazuya do like the exact again like he just needs to get back with mommy, but for some reason it just never happens. And like they're clearly perfect for each other, and they have like all the same like insecure, weird, toxic ass flaws, and like they're not directing it at each other. It's so fucking strange. Like it's not even like for angst purposes. Like they're not even not getting together because it would be good drama. Like he has opportunities with both of these girls, and he's like actively choosing not to take them because he wants to rope in this third girl who wants nothing to do with him.
but she does because he saved her from a boat.
Oh, right, of course.
So that whole thing, he stalks her, right? And then like of course she finds out. And it turns out the whole time like he's actually like a casting director and she's trying to get a job. She's actually an actress and she's just doing the rental girl thing to pay the bills until she can like fulfill her artistic dreams, which is actually an interesting side plot. That could actually be something interesting. Uh, so like she catches him and she's like, "Bro, like don't stalk people. That's like not cool, right?"
Yeah.
And then after she tells him off, she gives him a Christmas present early.
What?
Like it's some sort of reward for listening. I think that's the crazy thing about the show is that like it genuinely does understand when things are problematic, right? She genuinely tells him stalking's not cool. You shouldn't do this. It understands this, and then immediately turns around, right? And then rewards Kazuya for something he shouldn't be, for something that the show has demonstrated is wrong, right? And I think this is like the biggest example of it, where he literally gets rewarded for it, right? He gets told that this is wrong, but like no punishment ever ensues. Right? He
Yeah.
just gets he gets a Christmas present, and and it's like, why is she buying him Christmas? Like her whole rationale is like, you saved me from the from drowning, so I'm gonna get you a Christmas present, and it's like this phone case with fish on it. It's actually genuinely, considering the things I know about this guy, that would probably be like the only gift I could ever think about getting him.
Yeah,
Because that's where his
legitimately.
personality ends.
He is, I mean, this whole thing is just so fucking asinine, but like again, the show does nothing to do any of the heavy lifting it needs to do to justify any of the plot actually happening. And so, like, anything that does happen, like you were saying earlier, like hijinks ensued, like, that's just it. Like, there's no reason for all of this shit to be happening. It just does because the writer said so. And that's never a good reason to write a story. And so, yeah, overall, I give this like a negative 10 out of 10.
uh,
Good lord.
but yeah.
Anyways, yeah, we
Uh,
are at 2 hours and 10 minutes. So, do you have anything last thing? Do you have any last things to say about this absolute raccoon of a piece of media? Oh God.
okay, I'll wrap it up with like two I think interesting parts of the last couple episodes. One of them, they introduce a new girl. Her name's Sumi, and she has a lot of social anxiety, and she does the whole rental girlfriend thing to like try to get better about that. And that's actually a cool concept. Like maybe it's not the best concept you can do with the rental girlfriend thing, but I also think it kind of makes her like the least problematic best character in the whole series, and she gets an episode. Uh, and like I think that might be an interesting way that like, I mean, we have come up with a lot of very interesting ways that you can run with this concept, and I think yours have been a lot better. But I think this is the closest the show gets to ever like doing something interesting with the whole rental girlfriend concept. Uh, and then the last episode of the season, uh, I genuinely do really like. So mommy finds out about the whole rental girlfriend thing. By the way, you think mommy's gonna be like a recurring villain or something? She just disappears until the end, until episode 11 and 12. So she finds out about the whole rental girlfriend thing. And she like rents Chizuru, right? And she takes her to a karaoke bar, and it's genuinely like a really interesting scene because it's just mommy being like, it turns into like this crazy drama where you get to see mommy like flexing her like power over Chizuru in that moment. She like takes her out on a date to like karaoke, and like Chizuru's like, I'm not gonna accept payment, and she's like, no, just accept it. And then she's like, go sing, right? And it becomes like this like kind of psychological thriller. And for a moment, you're like, damn, like this is what the show could have been, and it would have been really interesting. And like we episode 12 turns into like this crazy. We're so close, and it turns into like this genuinely really tense psychological thriller where like Chizuru's in this really uncomfortable situation. Like mommy has like all the power here, right? For some reason, Kazuya's also stalking the whole situation, and then it ends with like, and then it ends with Chizuru making an impassioned speech about why mommy should get back together with Kazuya. That's it. That's it.
That's insane.
It just drops it right there. We're on like this like railroad of like super intense drama, and then she ends it with like, you should really give Kazuya a second chance because he never got over you, and like that's a good reason, and that shows that he really loves you, and that's a good reason to get back together with someone. There you go.
Yeah, I don't.
Season
I mean,
1 of Rent a
the
Girlfriend.
plant speech was bad enough, but this is just unacceptable.
Yeah.
Good
And then
Lord.
I know people who have read further or caught up with it, and from what they've told me, it like never gets better. Like there is an argument to be had that there is a version of this exact show that works if he does get better and learns why he's like awful and gets better, but he doesn't even do that.
Yeah.
The show just keeps continuing, and he just keeps doing this, and like for some reason Chizuru starts developing feelings, but like no one ever confesses to anyone. Why she would develop feelings for him is a mystery, other than the whole like I saved your life once. Even then, that's not a good reason to
I mean, moment of silence for me, because like I didn't know like how this ended, and or how at least the first fucking season ended. There's more to the show that hasn't even been made yet, but actually, is there a second season out?
There is a second season.
Okay,
out,
never
yes.
mind.
It got
Well,
a second season. This year it got a second season.
Well,
Which I'm not watching.
yeah, I'm not watching that either.
No, I'm not watching it.
I just don't like, I don't know. I guess I kind of like was holding out at least a little bit of hope that like something would sort of be different in the last episodes that I didn't end up watching, but like it's kind of reassuring to know that it doesn't as well.
Now you know you're not missing anything. No significant character development.
Well, that's good to know. That means I didn't waste too much time.
I mean, you watch 5 episodes, it's a couple hours of your life you're never getting back. But this episode of the podcast is almost as long as the 5 episodes that you watched, so you got like almost 1-for-1 minutes back on that.
Alrighty, so I feel like we've talked about this quite a bit. Like enough,
I don't think there's ever like too much time about Rent a Girlfriend. I don't know what you're talking about.
I think I'm at my wit's end. I think I've spoken about this quite enough. So what would you rank this show out of? I think our rank tier is like S, and then A, B, C, D, E, and then F.
A plus? Like
I'm going to kill you. I'm going to murder you in your sleep.
Okay.
It's going to happen.
For realsy.
For realsies, yes.
I think we might have to give it an F. We seem to not like it too much, from what it sounds like. But personal enjoyment value is pretty up there. But official ranking, I'll go for the F.
Personal enjoyment value, my guy.
Okay,
well,
did you not have fun for these last 2 hours?
Okay, for like talking about it, yes, but not necessarily having actually watched it. I suffered a little bit.
I think the conversation is like part of the enjoyment experience of the whole thing, right? Like I don't think you can separate how much fun we're having now from the piece of art itself.
I think we're just gonna have to agree to disagree on this one, buddy, because I hated that show with a burning passion, and if that wasn't clear from how much I talked about how much I hated it with a burning passion, then perhaps you need to listen to the episode a second time, because I did not have fun.
Get those metrics up. Listen to it a second time.
Okay. Well, I think, yeah, I would probably also put it at like an F. If there was a lower ranking, I would probably put it there, but I just don't think that there's anything.
It was like an F minus or something like that.
I
Like
don't know.
you're
Like,
really in the
oh,
technical details
are we
here.
doing like plus and minuses?
I don't think
Are we
I
being
don't think we
teachers
should.
right now?
No, that's hurting me. That's hurting me more than Red Girlfriend ever could. So I'll
Wait,
pass on that.
is F minus even possible? Because it's already a failing grade, so does it even
I,
matter if you get an F plus or F minus?
I think the only time you get an F minus is if your teacher really hates you enough.
I think that is true as well. Like you can get like a D minus or like a D
Yeah.
plus, but I don't
See,
think
see,
an F minus is a thing.
the fact that an F minus like fundamentally doesn't matter just makes it matter even more when someone actually gives it to you because they're like, I didn't have to do this, but it was that bad.
Yeah. This put me in that much pain. Which, you know what? I'm gonna be that teacher and I'm gonna give Rent a Girlfriend an F minus because
Gosh.
that's how it
I
made
hope you
me
never
feel.
I hope you're never one of my professors.
And I hope that I never get to meet anybody who was ever a part of the fucking series that is Rent a Girlfriend because I will have some choice words for them.
Except the voice actors. You said the voice acting was good.
Okay. I don't even know who the author of this series is, but whoever you are, if I ever meet you in person, we gotta talk, man.
For their safety, I'm not going to tell you who the author of
Okay,
this is.
great. Thank you.
All right. I think we got on long enough. We should wrap
Yeah.
this up. And see you guys next 2 weeks.
Ooh, yes, we had some fun stuff planned for y'all next week, so something a lot better than Rent a Girlfriend.
This podcast was produced by Yeji.
It was created and written by both of us,
It was edited by me.
and the cover art was done by my good friend Emma Nebecker.